huge protests in Brazil. The protests in Brazil are the largest in more than 20 years. Over 200,000 demonstrators took to the streets of a number of the biggest cities in Brazil. This all started, according to the AP, Lewis, because bus and subway fares increased by 10 cents on June 1st. That catalyzed the protests. And then that led to even bigger protests because of people's displeasure with poverty, taxes, corruption in Brazil, social services, and interestingly enough, spending on the Olympics and on the World Cup. One popular protest photo reads, "We don't need the World Cup. We need money for hospitals and education." The week's going to continue. It's not exactly clear how protesters and police are going to continue interacting. Police today were gearing up for even more protesters. But I find the World Cup and Olympics issue pretty interesting because there's this kind of conventional wisdom that bringing the World Cup or the Olympics to your city are just a great thing, period. And a lot of the times, that's not the way it works out. We talked with Dennis Campbell about this around the London Olympics quite a bit. And in the short term, in other words, a lot of the times in the run-up to and during the World Cup or Olympics, you do have a lot of increases in prices of real estate. You see a lot of police activity. You do also see some buildup of new facilities for the events. But afterwards, it very, very often doesn't really leave any lasting positive impact on the city and country. And people in Brazil seem to be understanding this, and it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of money spent on defense, on security, and sometimes these cities that are inhabited, I don't know, it can be damaging.
It can.
And especially in Brazil, some of the cities where they're trying to host events are kind of unsavory.
There's cities that have significant issues in many parts.
Right. And of course, they're making the claim that this will be a huge boost for those cities.
Right.
What happens
And it
afterwards?
often is in the short term because, I mean, look at what happened in South Africa. Was it the Summer Olympics in South Africa where you basically just pushed the locals out to make it appear as though everything's just fine here. There's no problems here. Everything's great. You bring in vendors from big corporations to sell their expensive T-shirts and jerseys. And then afterwards, everybody leaves, and you've just got a disastrous situation. It doesn't improve anything long term. We're going to continue to follow the Brazil protests.